Russia destroys Ukrainian Air Force airfield with high-precision weapons. The Russian Defense Ministry said that the country's forces on Sunday disabled an airfield belonging to the Ukrainian Air Force in Starokonstantinov. The Russian Defense Ministry said that the country's forces on Sunday disabled an airfield belonging to the Ukrainian Air Force in Starokonstantinov. Igor Konashenkov, the ministry's chief spokesman, further said that the Russian military has continued to strike the military infrastructure of Ukraine as the war entered the 11th day on Sunday, RT News reported. On Saturday evening, as a result of a massive attack, 61 military facilities on the territory of Ukraine were hit, he claimed. Bomber and attack aircraft hit 3 radar stations of the armed forces of Ukraine. The missile forces destroyed the S-300 air defense system, said Konashenkov. He further claimed that over the past day, Russian fighters and air defense systems also shot down 4 Su-27 and 1 MiG-29 aircraft in the Zhytomyr region, Su-27 and Su-25 in the Radomyshl region, 1 Su-25 in the Nizhyn region, 2 Mi-8 helicopters in near Kiev, 6 unmanned aerial vehicles, including Bayraktar TB2.
Зараз не знаю, чи мене видно. Ми перебуваємо поруч із пожежею в Осаркові. Все-таки був підрив знизу, але вибух був дуже гучний. І от бачите.
NATO planes occupy the skies of Europe. Eyes open against Putin, 100 planes ready. NATO has doubled the number of military aircraft on standby across Europe amid concerns that Russia's irresponsible flights in international airspace could escalate the situation. The alliance's move to defend its eastern extremities highlights how quickly the security situation in and around Ukraine has changed over the past 10 days, and is also NATO's biggest test since its founding in 1949. More than 60 NATO aircraft are on high alert at all times awaiting possible airspace violations, the alliance said in December. That number has now grown to more than 100 fighter jets patrolling the skies on tour. An incredible force of fighter jets like the American F-15, F-16, and F-35, plus NATO Eurofighters, flew into the European skies this week, taking off in flight whenever the pilots had to be expelled. Non-cooperative Russians, and to protect the airspace of allied countries, said the spokesman of the Alliance Air Command Jonathan Bailey. They have been deployed in response to Russia's air activities in the international arena, where they do not adhere to security regulations, Bailey said. We are patrolling the skies 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, along our eastern borders. Putin gets pushed back. As 8 Russian aircraft are shot down in one day, captured troops condemn invasion to TV cameras. A Russian attack helicopter makes a menacing low pass over a rural village in Ukraine, its gunship fully equipped with missiles and machine guns. But, unknown to the crew of the state-of-the-art Mi-24 Hind aircraft, Ukrainian soldiers are waiting unseen in the line of trees below. Dramatic footage emerged yesterday of the final moments of the helicopter, christened the flying tank by Russian air crews. As it makes its approach, the defending troops fire a rocket skywards from a frost-covered field about 25 miles outside the capital Kiev. The warhead fizzes, leaving a trail of white smoke in its wake. It locks onto its target before the crew can engage their infrared jammers and flare dispensers. The invaders receive a brutal and direct hit. The helicopter explodes instantly, sending brilliant orange flames bursting from the engine. The stricken Mi-24 plummets to the earth, hitting the ground nose first. This came on a day when Russian aerial forces lost as many as 8 aircraft, as well as multi-role, strike and close air support aircraft and a drone. Their losses, claimed by Ukrainian military sources, provide further evidence of Russia's failure to gain air superiority, a tactical advantage that Vladimir Putin thought would be achieved on the first day of the war. But 10 days later, the Russian president's much-vaunted Air Force is still being picked off in ambushes by highly mobile Ukrainian air defense units equipped with the latest shoulder-fired rocket launchers. In the incident pictured above, the Ukrainians are thought to have used a specialist short-range weapon system, the Polish PPZR Piorun, which is ideal for targeting low-flying helicopters. The video is believed to have been recorded by a drone, with Western sources confirming the location as Kozyroviki in the Kiev region. In another remarkable development yesterday, Putin came under pressure from his own soldiers to stop the war. At a press conference in Kiev, captured Russian troops condemned the mission and called on their fellow citizens to rally against the conflict. Ukraine civilians joyride captured Russian tank. Ukraine civilians joyride captured Russian tank. Several Ukrainians have posted videos and photos of Russian soldiers abandoning their weapons and vehicles. A group of Ukrainian men took a Russian tank they captured for a joyride through the frozen field. The video of the act surfaced on social media on Wednesday and is now going viral amid the Russia-Ukraine war. The 24-second footage shows the group of men cheering on top of Russian tank during the high-speed ride. One of the men who filmed it on his mobile phone shouts, "We did it," and "Glory to Ukraine" in his native tongue. His friends, meanwhile, laugh and cheer. The video shows the military vehicle identified as T-80 BVM armored battle tank by Daily Mail traversing through a snow-covered field in Kharkiv. Several Ukrainians have posted videos and photos of Russian soldiers abandoning their weapons and vehicles. They claim these were left by soldiers who were either captured or fled from the war. Some of the weaponry being posted by Twitter users includes a self-propelled howitzer, a command vehicle, and logistical trucks. Blinken crosses the border into Ukraine. U.S. Secretary of State, military aid to Kiev. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken briefly entered Ukraine for the first time since the start of the war, to meet with the country's foreign minister, Dmytro Kuleba. The pair met on the border with Poland to discuss Western efforts to support Ukraine after Russia invaded 10 days ago. Amid tight security, Mr. Blinken and Mr. Kuleba held talks at a border tent where refugees, mostly women and children, continued to come. "The whole world stands by Ukraine, just as I am standing here in Ukraine with my friend, my colleague," Mr. Blinken said. "I hope that the people of Ukraine will be able to see this as a clear manifestation that we have friends who stand by us," Kuleba said. The two top diplomats discussed Ukraine's supply of weapons and the campaign to isolate Russia internationally, as well as to damage its economy with sanctions, Mr. Kuleba said. "Ukraine will eventually win its war with Russia," he said, "but its international backers need to offer more help to end the conflict as soon as possible. Ukraine especially needs fighter jets and air defense systems," the Ukrainian foreign minister said, adding that the Stinger anti-aircraft weapons offered by Western countries were helping. Ukrainian forces shot down 3 Russian planes on Saturday, he said. U.S. and Poland will send MiG-29 jets to Ukraine. U.S. working actively with Poland to send MiG-29 jets to Ukraine. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has said the United States is working on a deal with Poland to supply Ukraine with jets amid Russia's invasion. "We are looking actively now at the question of airplanes that Poland may provide to Ukraine and looking at how we might be able to backfill should Poland decide to supply those planes," he told reporters on Sunday during a visit to Moldova. "I can't speak to a timeline, but I can just say we're looking at it very, very actively." His comments came after Democrat Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said in a statement that Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, in a call on Saturday with U.S. Congress members, asked Washington to facilitate the transfer of used Russian planes from Eastern European allies. Multiple news outlets, meanwhile, reported that the U.S. and Poland are working together to provide Polish Soviet-era warplanes to Ukraine. For U.S. officials told Politico the two governments are working on a deal, with the question of how to transfer the planes being the biggest difficulty in a potential arrangement. We are working with the Poles on this issue and consulting with the rest of our NATO allies, a White House spokesperson told Politico. We are also working on the capabilities we could provide to backfill Poland if it decided to transfer planes to Ukraine. Zelensky gives the alarm, the Russians will wipe out Odessa. Russia is preparing for devastating bombings in Odessa, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky warned during a speech today. The famous port city on the shores of the Black Sea looks set to face all the fury of the Russian army, which failed to take as it hoped, the capital Kiev. The Odessa strike would be a war crime, said Zelensky, who made part of the statement in Russian, urging Russians to choose between life and slavery at a time when, as he put it, it is still possible to defeat evil without irreparable losses. They are preparing to bomb Odessa. Odessa, the city that has always welcomed the Russians, the city whose warmth they have always felt. What are they doing now? Bombs against Odessa? Artillery shells? Missiles against Odessa? This will be a historic crime. The Russia-Ukraine conflict has entered its 11th day, with no signs of calming down. The ceasefire announced the day before for the opening of humanitarian corridors failed, causing chaos in Mariupol where people were forced to turn back. With relentless bombing, the Russians are trying to lower the morale of the troops and the Ukrainian population. Several cities, including Kiev and Kharkiv, are under intense Russian rocket fire. The strong resistance of the Ukrainians has demoralized the Russian troops, says the BBC. In its latest report, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry shows that Russian forces have lost 88 planes and helicopters since the beginning of the conflict. Several Russian pilots have been captured, and a significant amount of Russian equipment has been seized in the Mykolaiv region as local troops mobilize to defend Mariupol. Russia has already taken another hit on its markets. U.S. payment giants Visa and MasterCard have announced they have suspended operations there due to the invasion of Ukraine. Visa said in a statement that it would suspend transactions in the coming days, and as a result cards issued in Russia would not work abroad.